This episode is going to be slightly dystopian, maybe actually really dystopian. And yes, it's going to feature AI again. I think all of us in the music industry should just be on top of AI anyhow, because it's evolving so quickly and all the new updates and all the new things that are happening can affect us and we might not even know what's happening. And especially with publishing rights, which is what this episode is going to go into. So I think it's important not only that we are knowledgeable about what's going on, but we're able to take that knowledge and evolve with it, take advantage of AI if we have to, basically survive as artists is what I'm thinking.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. And AI, of course, we've seen it. We all know it's affecting all art. Like, I love that meme. I can't remember the context, but basically it says something like, I thought robots were going to do my laundry and clean and so I can do my art, and instead they're doing my art for me, you know, that old trope. And it is happening. I mean, it's affecting visual arts. That's easy to see. It's affecting literature. And of course, we featured in episode 13 how AI artists are even charting on Billboard these days. So we're going to start in the literature world because it's really obvious there. And I think that is going to start bleeding over into our music industry world, especially with publishing. Both literature and music obviously deal with publishing. So copyright, publishing, that type of thing. So let's start off, let's back up to last year. Anthropic, the company that makes Claude, the AI Claude.
Oh, they make Claude, right?
Yeah. LLM, yeah. In order to train its LLM, it bought a ton of books, physical books. It cut the spines off the book, and then it scanned on a huge mass scale, scanned all these books, millions of pages into its system. And it trained its AI model off of that, just destroying tons of books.
So the spine cutting was just to enable a flat scanner, or was it actually to destroy the book?
Well, I'm not sure how it started, but how it ended is they destroyed the books.
Yeah.
So they literally
Because they could have taken pictures of the pages. There's other ways to scan.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere, I can't remember where exactly, that it was the most efficient way to do it. They spent tons of money on these huge machines to do a ton of books at once. So you have AI. None
of this sounds efficient. Lapping off a spine, feeding a stack of missized pages.
I'm not going to get into the weeds of how that they functioned and did it, but the only reason the public knows that they did this is because a huge lawsuit happened last year against Anthropic. Did you hear about this?
I don't know.
I remember faintly hearing about it, but I didn't realize how fucked up it was. Like, you literally have AI eating books.
Yes.
It's messed up. It's already dystopian. And the messed up part is that Anthropic won. So what happened was the ruling, the judge, it was basically publisher saying you can't do this. Like, you can't just take this copy it and then destroy it. And in a nutshell, it's a little more nuanced than that, but that's big picture.
I would think the argument would be, though, I bought this, I could do what I want with this copy.
Exactly. Do you know what that's called?
What exactly?
That whole concept. I bought this book, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
I don't know the legal term for it.
So that's called first sale doctrine.
Okay.
So it can, so Anthropic, the only way they could take these books and legally train their AI without the author's permission is that first sale doctrine. It allows the buyer to do whatever they want with their purchase without the copyright holder intervening. So once it's sold, that book is sold to a person, say I buy it, I can sell it to you without the author or the publishing house taking a cut of my sales to you.
Isn't it illegal though to copy the book and sell the copy?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And that's where it comes into music, but we'll get there in a second because this is just so messed up on this end. You'll start to see why it could affect us and how it's going to affect the music industry. So you're already there. So that's what basically allows the secondhand market to exist with books, with CDs too. Okay, so that establishes what's been happening. Fast forward to last week, it was discovered in an article that 404media.com, I believe 404 Media put out. Not only is this happening, but it's happening on a huge scale now. And there's a company, it's a large book database called ISBNdb, like ISBN being the code, you know, the barcode in the back of a book. So ISBNdb, it used to just focus on
DB meaning database.
Yeah, it used to just focus on helping libraries, educators, distributors, bookshops find and sell books, like rare books especially. It was just a big database on like who has a book, where it's at, how you can get it. Now, that company is helping AI companies like Anthropic, they didn't specifically name Anthropic, buy in bulk books everywhere to help feed AI. So bookstores, there was one in particular, I forget what country, I think it was the Netherlands. They usually sold like maybe they were happy if they sold 100 books a week. They're starting to get orders for thousands of books that have just been sitting on their shelves for ages. And they suspected it's AI companies buying it through ISBNdb. So it keeps the buyer anonymous. So all you know is ISBNdb is buying it. And it's specializing in buying pre-LLM books. Basically anything circa like before 2022 is what they're buying up. And there's obviously a few reasons for that. Number one being it's less contaminated with the AI writing books. Like you don't want to train AI off of something AI wrote. That's not desirable because you're losing truth immediately amongst other things. Art imitating humans. It's like, it's just derivative.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically AI slop-free. It's the real shit. The real art is how I look at it. And I think it's messed up on a few levels. It's not only like just the whole concept of destroying stuff, like taking it and feeding it. It's just such a waste. But also, it's, if you think about rare books especially, that's history. You're basically destroying history. Like ISBNdb, they're known for finding rare books. So these AI companies are literally buying like first print editions, like the only remaining copies left of historical books. That's happening.
I would question if they're actually destroying those rare books. There's other ways to get the data into an AI.
Okay. I'll challenge that. Even if they're not destroying, do you think there's a problem with them owning the last copy of something and for all you know, it's not available anymore?
Yeah, it's not the best way to keep the last copy of something, but who knows? Like these companies might resell them when they're done or something, like the rare copies if they're worth thousands or
maybe.
I'm giving them a lot of credit by saying
you're giving them a lot of credit, yeah.
And I don't think they deserve that credit, but I'm just saying hypothetically, there's no proof that the book is destroyed.
Right, and we're just using Anthropic in this conversation. Who knows what other LLMs, AI companies are doing? That's a good point. In my mind, I'm a huge book nerd. And I think of the dystopian novel called Fahrenheit 451, the Ray Bradbury book from back in 1953 that came out. And the reason I thought of that book, talking about these books, is in that book, it's a dystopian society where all books are destroyed and a lot of history with it. So people only know history based on what they're told. Not only that, people are smuggling books. Like people will hide books just so they can verbally tell the stories, oral tradition, basically. And in that book, there's the antagonists are the firemen. And the weird thing is ironically, the firemen start fires in that book. They burn all the books. So they literally find libraries, hidden libraries, and burn them. So immediately when I read this article, I thought of that story, and I was like, the AI is the fucking fireman. Like, it's happening. Like, it's actually happening. This is messed up.
And now you're only going to know about what was in the books, not what was told to you, like in 451, but what the LLM tells you.
That's my fear in the book. So, and just the thought of AI-free literature being gone someday just breaks my heart, because humans are what make it art.
I don't think it's ever going to completely disappear.
I don't think so either. I'm just going straight up like end of the world dystopian Fahrenheit 451 style with this example.
I don't think anyone's going to let it go to that level.
Yeah. So obviously this isn't a literature podcast. This is all about music. So how does this apply to music?
We'll replace the word record with book, and you probably have a lot of that answer right there.
Yeah, that's one aspect I was thinking of. Going back to that first sale doctrine that I spoke about earlier, it's the exact reason that tech companies nowadays, and not just tech companies, but private investors, equity firms are buying up music catalogs rather than just buying a bunch of CDs, because by buying the catalogs, obviously they own the rights.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to books, but a little different, a little twist on it. Because
that was always a thing. People in the industry, publishers and different people always bought catalogs, but they were always in the industry. They weren't some outside thing buying it. Like when I worked at ESP, Bernard Stallman owned a huge part of Billie Holiday's catalog.
Yeah.
She never played or some Charlie Parker catalog albums too, and they never played at an ESP recording session. He just bought these things.
Right.
So
And
but he was in the industry. It made sense.
It's a great investment. I'm not shitting on that thought process, and that's normal. Like up until this point.
I mean, if I wanted to be able, I'm not going to sell my catalog, but if I wanted to, I could.
You could, yeah. And that's normal. What's not normal, and I don't have evidence of this, okay, this is all theoretical at this point from here on out, but drawing on what we just learned from the literature industry, that world, it's like, what is keeping that from happening in different aspects in our industry? So historically, courts have drawn a big line in the sand between music as opposed to literature. So an example of this is the Capitol Records versus ReDigi case. I remember hearing about this, but I didn't know like the name of it. But basically in that, the courts ruled that the first sale doctrine doesn't apply to digital audio files. Exactly what you were talking about before. Like you're making a copy of it. Like that's illegal. So you're inherently just creating a new reproduction. That's copyright infringement. So the loophole to that with big tech industry or in private equity firms is they just buy the rights instead. Then they don't got to worry about that.
The other workaround would be they buy the physical media and, record it in or something. But
yeah, so technically the first sale,
right, the doctrine would prevent that.
It would prevent that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was imagining them doing this with vinyl records or something, but I guess that's not.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll come back to that thought in a second, because I have thoughts about exactly what you're saying too. But that's kind of, to me, that's the scary part of this whole thing, even though I don't have evidence of it happening. What's keeping big tech or AI from buying all these classic like funk, jazz, avant-garde, any kind of music from, think like the 70s, right? What you could do with classic beats, and then making stems off of all that.
Yeah.
Feeding it into your LLM and just improving all these bullshit AI music. Not, I guess I'm going to be an LLM because it's not a large language model, but I don't know what Sora. Just fuck that up. I don't know how.
Well, Sora doesn't exist anymore, but
right.
There's other ones.
But just the same concept though, like just as we feed in pages of books to an LLM, what's to keep people as this AI progresses from taking all the stems and just feeding it in?
Well, how do you know that they're not already dissecting it down to the stems when the music is already fed in? Like that's probably already part of the algorithm.
It probably is.
So feeding in the stems seems like an extra human layer that's unnecessary, but
we're probably past that at this point. Yeah. It's evolving so quickly, it's scary.
I can push a button and extract a drum stem from anything.
Yeah.
It's
right. So, I mean, these firms, major labels, they're spending all this money, and it's partially, I'm sure it's an investment. But what's to keep a company from, like a musical version of ISBNdb, from just starting to buy up catalogs anonymously?
Discogs.com buys and sells records like that. Yeah.
So I'm of two thoughts here. Number one, it's like, this is already probably happening, like you said. People remix stuff all the time illegally. I mean, I know I'm not going to do it right now, but I can rattle out, like rap even, like, how many people ripped off George Clinton over the years?
Yeah, but that's kind of how he continued to get rich. But yeah,
some of it was illegal.
I'm sure
though,
some of it was illegal.
You know, I'm sure a lot got through. But so I don't know. It's like, isn't that kind of the same thing? Only it's AI doing it.
There's a lot wrong with this picture. I mean, first off, I don't really get why there's some legal loophole to shred a spine off a book, feed it into an LLM, but you can't do that with a record. Like, why is that? You know, how can you buy a single copy of a book, feed it into an LLM legally, but you can't buy a single copy of a record and feed it into the LLM legally?
Yeah.
You must be able to.
No. According to my research, no. Like that's where, because No. I think, back up. If you're feeding it into LLM, it's fine. That's the point, the whole point of what I'm saying. Like, you can do it. You can't make copies and then resell copies. Just like you couldn't, like in the 90s, early 2000s, like we burned CDs all the time. Everyone did. Like, sure. Let's not pretend we didn't.
Yeah.
But what would be fucked up is if you're selling those CDs to people, then you're like really...
Yeah.
You know, you're not even really technically supposed to burn a copy and hand it out, but, you know.
But, okay. Earlier in the conversation, though, we said that they couldn't do that with a purchased used record somehow.
Right.
Because the theory is you'd be making a copy of the record to give to the LLM.
No, you wouldn't be making, and it's not an LLM, like we'll just call it AI. You're not making a copy of it. You're not reproducing it. That's the fine point. You're not reproducing it. You're breaking it down and feeding it into something.
Seems like the point of it, though, is that the information in the art is getting into the LLM. Mm-hmm. So, like, doing that with other art mediums seems so simple. What's to prevent you from opening your laptop right now and going to your record player and putting on a record, and just like you can have a conversation with Gemini or ChatGPT, just turn on the microphone and say, ChatGPT, here's a Roswell Rudd record. I want you to learn all the melodies off of it and put it into a MIDI file for me to, practice or something. It can listen to stuff like that. So what's the difference between having it listen to something and then having it fed?
Same thing, just a different technique. Yeah, I don't have the answers. I'm just posing this whole
There's a big can
show.
of worms, basically.
Yeah, I'm just drawing attention to it.
Yeah.
To get to the physical aspect of it, I mean, what if you had someone buying up catalogs, physical catalogs, feeding it to AI, and then it'd be the equivalent of doing that and then just destroying all the vinyl, all the CDs. That would be shitty.
The purpose of the destruction, according to your research, maybe there's a dual purpose, but the purpose is to make the ingestion easier by removing the spine, scanning lots of things. There's no reason to destroy a CD after you burn it or after you play it.
No, there's no reason to destroy it. But if your sole purpose, if your outcome you're looking for is to feed the AI and that's it, then why do you need the vinyl after it's over? These people, think of these people as not as musicians or collectors, but as someone just feeding a machine.
Yeah.
It's pretty cold.
As long as that machine, as long as the person feeding the machine doesn't care about the art, and as long as the machine can reproduce the art perfectly, then and you can't convince me they can ever reproduce it perfectly. But big can of worms.
Big can of worms episode. That's the answer. I don't have one. I just think it's really messed up what's happening to literature that happened. I found out about it on Threads of all places. I saw someone complaining about it and saying how messed up it was, and I was like, "What is this? What are people complaining about now? Like, what is it?" And then I read the articles. It's just scary. And immediately my mind went to the music industry and what that means for us. I don't think it's going to replicate what's happening in literature exactly, but it's just a springboard for what could happen.
I don't know. I mean, if you know that the LLM knows a book and you say, turn to page 226 and start reading me this page, and if it could do that, I'm sure you could say, okay, pull up Braxton's Fall 1974 and play me the second track on side B starting 2 minutes in, and it could jump to the Kenny Wheeler solo or whatever is on there. Mm-hmm. I don't see any difference. It's just referencing a point in its data set.
But when you take it to another level of, okay, here's another theoretical mind game. So in the book world, you're training the AI to learn all these stylistic choices and sound more like certain authors, certain time periods. So then,
assuming the purpose is to write.
To write in that style and
because there are other purposes to scanning books out there.
And this scanning books has been going on for decades now. And there's been pirated book sites forever, just like there's pirated music sites, and this is just going a step further. So in my example, you're training it to write in the style of, and then you're destroying it in my example with Anthropic. But if you're taking all this music catalog, say someone just bought George Clinton's entire catalog and then said, all right, just make a new George Clinton album. It sounded just like him and just like Parliament and Bootsy and all those guys, but it's not them. It's freaking AI, and you can't tell the difference.
think we're far from that already, even without the scanning in of all the catalog.
Yeah. I don't know. That's my thought experiment of the day. And if someone out there knows of this happening, I would love to hear about it. Like, definitely comment, let us know.
Or come on the podcast.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it with you.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please visit birchgrove.io. It's the home base for our record label, Birch Grove Media. You could buy a vinyl record or a digital album and sign up for our newsletter where you'll receive notifications about future events and releases. Also visit podfuelmedia.com. I'm one of the owners of this company, and if you like how this podcast was produced, we do that for our clients: audio, video edits, syndication, consulting, and startup for a new podcast. So book a call with us and we'll get your podcast going right away. You can also go to buymeacoffee.com/birchgrovemedia and leave us a tip if you'd like. Thank you very much.